AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Jonathan Escobar Marin, welcome to the conversation today.
Hey, John, how are you doing? Thank you very much for having me here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from Madrid, Spain. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah in the United States. And today we're going to be talking about your recent book, Lead to Beat, the leadership rhythm that shapes tomorrow. I love that. And I'm really excited to have a chance to unpack this book with you and to explore key elements of it with my audience today. As we get started, I wanted to share Jonathan's bio with everybody. Jonathan Escobar Marin has been bridging the nuanced gap between strategy and execution and between executives and their associates for the world's leading corporations for over 2 decades. His distinguished efforts have resulted in an exceptional track record marked by over 320 successful transformations across more than 32 countries. After leaving school at 16, he later transformed adversity into advantage, ultimately guiding global boards and C-suites across FMCG, retail, pharmaceutical, and tech sectors, where he has consistently empowered firms to outperform markets and dismantle organizational complacency. Again, it's just a real pleasure to be with you. Anything you would like to share by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in?
John, no, I enjoy to close the gap between strategy and execution. That's what I've done all my life, and that's what I try to share in the book Lead to Beat. And looking forward to talking to you now about this and my experience and what we have learned over these years. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, excellent. Well, let's start there. Let's start with the book. And I always like to ask authors, why this book? Why now? Writing a book is a labor of love. It takes a lot of time, energy, blood, sweat, tears, whatever, however you want to frame it. It's hard, and it takes a lot of yourself to then take it into market, and it's a very vulnerable thing to do. And so what was it about this book? Why did you feel the need to put this out in the world?
Well, the reality is I started to write the book in 2012, so more than 13 years ago. By that time, I was an executive. I was a director at Harman Group, and I was traveling a lot, long flights. And I decided that I didn't decide. So a friend of mine told me, hey, record your learnings, good voice records, record everything you have experienced in your career, but especially record everything that you are learning in this incredible transformation you are undergoing. And I started to do this. I remember I opened OneNote with all the different notes, the different documents, also a lot of voice records, and that's where the book started. So I spent 6 years as a director there. So of course that was not the moment to write a book. By 2018, I decided to come back to Barcelona and to found what today is Actio Global, the company that where we close the gap between strategy and execution across the world. And to be honest, the COVID time was a very important moment because I recovered, all that notes, I put them together, I organized them, and I decided that I wanted to write this book, and that was in 2020. Finally, after these years, I spent refining, writing it because I wanted to democratize everything I had learned in more than 24 years of career, and wanted to share it with everyone so that we could make work, the most powerful force in the planet to lead a positive impact scale. And I wanted to democratize just my knowledge and my experience in all these years and the experience of Actio Global.
I love that. And it's a common theme I hear when I meet with folks. Oftentimes it has been a years long, even decades long endeavor of application, of learning from the ups and the downs, the successes, the failures, and all of that learning, then wanting to be able to get that out there to folks. And I like how you term it, democratizing that knowledge, so that it can be available for everybody. And you're still doing your consulting work, you're still doing all of the things to help organizations, but also having this opportunity for anyone to go pick up your book and really learn from those decades of experience. It's a powerful thing. So I think that's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. And it really is a vulnerable thing, for people to put
Mm.
themselves out there and to share all of that with the world. So I applaud you for it. And I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. All right,
Thanks.
so let's dig in now and start to unpack some of the core elements of what you put out there in your book. First, the title, like "Lead to Beat: The Leadership Rhythm That Shapes Tomorrow." It's a really interesting title. Unpack that for us a little bit and explain, what you mean by that.
Well, first of all, I wanted to share, no, what are the drivers, no, the drivers of this leadership rhythm that I have seen in every single organization that I have seen, deliver results above expectations and better than the competitors and serve their consumers in the best possible way. And yes, lead to beat your competitions, to beat your fears, to beat what I call in the book faith, right? That is the way I like to define the world today. That is a world that is increasingly fragmented, with a lot
Mhm.
of ambiguity, with turbulence. No, everything
Yeah.
can change from one day to the other. And with a lot of entropy, things that were really powerful 1 year ago, and the strategies that were, delivering results 1 year ago. After 1 year, you need to renew them. You need to throw away your trophies and start over again. And this is why I decided to call it Lead to Beat, right? Especially to beat this fate, to beat competitors, to beat our fears, and to beat also the internal inertia that sometimes we have in organizations and that amplify this fate. No, when fragmentation meets silos, let me say this: fragmentation amplifies dramatically.
Mm.
When ambiguity, meets reporting and fear, well, the only thing we do is to amplify this ambiguity, and you have a lot of people not talking about what could happen, what could be, but no one really taking ownership and action. And this is why I decided to call it Lead to Beat. And the leadership rhythm it's described within the book through these four fundamental drivers that I have seen in the best organizations in the world.
Yeah, and we'll get into those in just a minute.
Mm.
I really like. I didn't know for sure because I haven't actually had a chance to read the book yet, but I suspected, the lead to beat would be more than just beating the competition. Now, of course, that's a big part of it. If you want to be successful in business, if you want to, have a long-term sustainable organization with great teams, you need to be competitive and you need to be able to stack up to the competition, even beat the competition, and continuously add value to the market. Otherwise, you just won't last, right? You won't continue to be out there in the market. But there's so much
Absolutely.
more to beat, than just your competition. And so much of it is yourself, So if I'm going to lead to be successful, I have to challenge my assumptions. I have to challenge my mindsets. I have to become the best leader I can be for myself, for my team, for my organization. And that will inevitably make you more competitive, in the marketplace. It'll inevitably make you, stand out amongst your competition because it's a rarity. I often tell people it's not rocket science. Like being a good leader is not rocket science, but it is really hard. And it's really
Absolutely.
hard because it requires consistency and it requires ongoing humility and self-reflection and the willingness and ability to adapt and to change. And these are all hard things for human animals to do, like because
Absolutely.
we're hardwired, the entropy piece that you were talking
Absolutely.
about. Like that's a really hard thing to overcome, right? And so
Absolutely.
so it's not rocket
And
science, but
John,
it's very difficult.
Yeah, if I can build on this, I love, when I, in these years, when I was reflecting about, everything I learned, and the Andreas Joele, who was the CEO at Harman Group by the time I was the director there,
Hmm.
and he always explained it, no, these drivers and this leadership rhythm in the same way, no, there is brutal focus on what matters the most, building a network of A players distributed across the organization, shaping a culture that is obsessed with impacting and winning, not doing, and raising the bar every single quarter, right? And he always says, no, this is the simple key to success that most people have heard about it, but don't know how to turn the key. But many simply don't want to turn it, right? And I think, yeah, and I capture his words in the book because it's exactly what you're saying. It's not rocket science. It's a simple key, but it takes a lot of consistency. It takes a lot of discipline, and also the willingness to confront the realities and to tackle them. Yeah. So I think that's I explain a lot of this in the book.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, very good. Let's go ahead and dive on into those four key elements that you alluded to a minute ago, and we can start to unpack all of those.
Yeah, the book starts with brutal focus, right? And I always say that most companies don't lack resources. No, what they lack is focus,
Mm,
because they are drowning in priorities that all sound strategic until they realize that none of them are moving the needle, right?
hmm.
And I explain in the book that most of the strategies have fatal five, killers for the strategies. First is outcome ambiguity, because when I ask different people in the organizations, teams have different definitions of success for these outcomes. A lot of short-term myopia, because a lot of short-term at the expense of the long-term value creation. A lot of diffused accountability, because a lot of projects where everyone is responsible but no one is accountable. I also see a lot of fractured collaboration, silos optimizing locally while the enterprise bleeds, and where the consumer is not at the center, and diluted talent. Yes, the best people of the organization are scattered across initiatives that don't really matter. And this is why I talk here about brutal focus, and I start with brutal focus. And in order to create brutal focus, I propose that leaders start with the wall. That is a single source of truth, not another dashboard, not another OKR tool. It's what define what winning means for us, where to play to win, and making sure that for each of these where to play choices, we have clear staffing. So one where to play choices means one team that is going to be brutally focused on these priorities. And for me, this brutal focus is the backbone of the other drivers that I explain in the book.
Yeah, yeah. The brutality of it. I love the word.
So,
Just, it just emphasizes it so much. And you're absolutely right. There's always resource constraints. Every organization has them, but it's more of an issue of prioritization than it is around,
absolutely,
resources
absolutely.
themselves. And so, yeah, I mean, in one sense, I love working with leaders who
Mhm.
are constantly bringing forward new cool ideas, innovation, all that kind of stuff. But it can also become overwhelming and it can also be very distracting, right? Because you end up, instead of going after, a very focused strategic goal, you end up fragmented and you end up like chasing all this low-hanging fruit everywhere and pulling you away from really your core competencies. And yeah, the distraction is very real. And the bigger the organization, often the more challenging it becomes because you're trying to manage strategic priorities, not just at the team level, but like at the unit level and then at the organizational level. And it just becomes really, really hard to key in and to focus and to prune.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
another way I like thinking about it is how do you prune strategic priorities over time? Because inevitably they mushroom and they balloon and you get more and more and you have the old priorities that it takes energy and influence to be able to disengage from those old priorities that aren't serving you anymore. You got to be able to prune those off and then go in whatever the direction is you're going. It takes brutal focus and it's painful, especially if you're one of the people who is part of that initiative that now is getting pruned off, because you
Absolutely.
invested your time and your energy and your passion into it.
Absolutely, no, you're absolutely right, and we also love good, ideas, no, and we like also in this brutal focus to have ambidexterity. So it means things that need to deliver the results of the year, combined with things that probably will transform the business in the next 5, 10 years, right? But if an idea is worth investing in the time in, then we put a team and we invest time on it. So we don't spend, we don't have a lot of teams around with the small ideas, with the small things. And I like, something I learned from Fernando Fernandez, this is the current CEO of Unilever, is that prioritization is directly connected to ambition, which it seems counterintuitive, right? But it's absolutely true. When we have the ambition to win and to win big, right, in something, then we put it as a priority. We put the budget, we put the right resources, and we put the dream team behind that priority. So when you don't have the ambition to win big, then it's like you say, yeah, this is the idea, but maybe I don't know if I will win. Well, let's try. No, if we want to win and we want to win big, then it's a priority. Then goes in the wall. Then we put budget behind this priority, and we put the right talent behind it. And that's how we like to set it. And we also like to talk a lot about the stop wall, right? That is, once we declare what are the things that we want to brutally pursue in the organization, we also declare what are the things where we don't want to spend a single minute in the organization, so that everyone is clear, so that there is no ambiguity in prioritization, so that everyone knows what yes and what no. And I think this is super healthy practice in the organization. And by the way, it's evolving. This is not forever. It's the best assumption we have in the next cycle. Cycle might be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever. But it's evolving because also our thinking, our strategic understanding evolves. And as it evolves, we can also, let's say, evolve this wall and the stop wall.
Yeah. All right. So let's move into the next core elements, but understanding again that brutal focus, that's a foundational piece. You have to have it, and you have to be willing to just be very honest and open and have those conversations around what your core priorities are and why, and just remain brutally focused to them. And so with that as a foundation, let's move into your other areas.
Yeah, the second driver, it's distributed leadership, right? Which is directly connected to brutal focus, because what
Mhm.
I say, what I explain is the formula 1-1-1, right? That one mission, one where to play choice in the wall becomes one team that owns one execution plan. And for that team, you put the best people in the organization. You put your dream team. And this requires that departments evolve from silos to talent pools, where the specialists in the functions, flow to value to these teams that need to work on the brutally important. And this talent comes from every corner in the organization. And this also requires that management shifts from control to enablement. So the role of leaders isn't to make every single decision, it's to create the conditions where the right decisions get made fast by the people with the best information and with the best ambition and with the best knowledge that is driving each of these missions. In the end, we are talking about leaders building new leaders. That's how you scale impact without scaling chaos, right? Every mission leader becomes a talent multiplier. They are not just delivering outcomes; they are delivering the next generation of leaders who can own, these brutally important missions that we referred to before. So it's directly connected, but it takes time, right? This is it takes time through you referred to at the start of the podcast, through consistency, habit, and leaders really dedicated to this.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. I'm not sure I have much to add there other than I agree. I think it's incredibly important that leaders practice this and foster that kind of an approach. And I imagine that leads into your next component.
Yeah, impact over activity. I start this chapter saying that winning is not an option, for us in the organizations where we see that they deliver the best results. Winning, it's a long-term commitment.
Mm.
That sentence should sometimes could make someone uncomfortable, especially when you are celebrating activity over outcomes.
Yes.
But the reality is that the shift from doing to winning is fundamental and key in the organizations we build. You either are a winner or you are, a player, or you are a bench sitter, right?
Mm.
There is no middle ground. And we find today that organizations are filled with people that are just, players or bench sitters, but not people that want to own and have the ambition to win. And for us, this is a very, very important element. And what I explain in the book is how through a habit, very simple habit, a very simple ritual, we create the transparency and the conditions so that people have the hunger to win and have the hunger to make an impact, and not just doing things. And by establishing a simple cadence in your organization, you can also surface what are the things that prevent you from winning and tackle them and resolve them one after the other. No, it's about creating this compounding value in organizations. And this is the third driver that I explain in the book, that connects directly with the last one, that is the discipline drumbeat. The discipline drumbeat is nothing else than making transformation a habit and not a
Yes.
one-off or a project, right? And I know it's something you also like. And this has nothing to do with strategic planning. It has to do with continuous evolution. It has to do with, as I explained before, every quarter, throwing away your trophies, taking all your learnings and starting over again. And this is the fourth driver I explained in the book. And of course, all of them are interconnected, but each of them requires, a special consistency from leadership in order to have, a magic outcome. That is what we see, in the organizations, that they forge these drivers one after the other. This leadership rhythm.
Yeah, yeah. The consistent drumbeat, that leadership rhythm, I think it's so important. And often, I think leaders forget how much you need to over communicate in a change environment, in an ambiguity environment. And if you want to be agile and ambidextrous, as you've referred to, you just have to consistently come back, relentlessly, consistently come back to those core priorities. You communicate and over communicate where you're going and why, and all of those things. And like you said in the last one, you have to get beyond just the behaviors and the actions and kind of going through the motions of productivity theater. And you can perform and have all sorts of outputs, but are they actually driving results, like the results that actually matter? And organizations often get buried in KPIs that don't actually matter, and don't actually drive end long-term success and sustainability. And so we have to. And I should also say, by the way, that also leaders are often just as guilty of that as middle management and line workers.
Yeah,
It tends to be pervasive throughout organizations, and
absolutely.
and and in part because that's how the reward structures are set up. So it's almost
Absolutely.
inevitable. And so it's just a really good reminder that we have to be relentless around how we stay focused and how we communicate, so that we can drive the types of results that will help everyone to derive value, meaning,
Abs-
purpose, and actual success, like actual competitive advantage, that will help us to continue into the future. All this
Absolutely.
beautifully well said. Well, I note the time. I'm going to have to let you go here, but as we wrap things up, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, and then give us the final word for today.
No, thank you very much for this time. I really enjoyed the conversation. We can connect in LinkedIn. I think it's the best way. Jonathan Escobar Marin, and also if they want to learn more about Lead to Beat, so there is the website lead2beat.com, where they can find let's say some of also of the testimonials from the different leaders that have practiced this leadership rhythm, and that they are practitioners, and that they share with others also their experience, their feelings, how it transformed their practice. So I think that's the best way to connect. And thank you very much for having me here today.
Wonderful. Yes, it's been a real pleasure, Jonathan. Thank you for joining me. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Jonathan and his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.